Now, turning to another major issue on the Hill, that Senate intelligence report detailing brutal enhanced interrogation techniques by the CIA. Last night, I spoke to Senator Lindsey Graham, who tells me why he's concerned the information released will hurt Americans over the long term.
Let's look at it this way. I'm all for killing and capturing terrorists. The more we can kill and the more we can capture, the better off we'll be. Now, when we capture a terrorist, it's about getting good information and living within our values. I've been a military lawyer for 32 years. But having said that, the biggest problem I have with the Obama administration is that they no longer hold terrorists as enemy combatants. They treat them as common criminals. And from the time we capture a terrorist to the time they're given a lawyer is a matter of days. Under the law of war, you can hold an enemy, a terrorist suspect as an enemy combatant indefinitely, and that's how you gather good information. Obama is criminalizing the war. We've gone from one extreme to the other, waterboarding and treating people, terrorists, as if they robbed a liquor store.
But, you know, those against the CIA methods act as though they have the moral high ground, but innocents get killed in drone strikes. What about that?
Well, anytime you attack enemy targets, collateral damage is part of it. We try very hard to limit civilian casualties, but terrorists live among populated areas. I'm very familiar with the rules of engagement when it comes to drone strikes, and there have been occasions where civilians have been killed. That is part of war. The goal is to always try to minimize civilian casualties. That's a completely different exercise than what you do with somebody once you capture them. They're not even the same concept.
How do you feel about lawmakers like Senator Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi who say they were lied to by the CIA, even though program directors say those lawmakers were briefed on the methods that were being used at the time?
I think there's a lot of covering one's back here. I support looking into the abuse allegations, but we've already changed the law. The Detainee Treatment Act gives guidance to the military, to the CIA, to the FBI about what's lawful and what's not. To those who were defending this nation after 9/11, they were afraid another attack was imminent. When they caught a terrorist, they used these techniques out of fear of another attack. So there's not going to be any prosecution of those who were employing these techniques, because they were given legal guidance. The law at the time was very confusing, but it is very clear now.
What about countries that cooperated with the CIA's post-September 11th detention and interrogation program, like Poland, expressing concerns now and dismay that the details of the interrogation methods were made public? Who will want to cooperate with us in the future against terrorism in this domain if they feel like they're up against potential leaks?
Great question. You know, when we leaked information about the bin Laden raid to make President Obama, I applaud President Obama. That was a tough call to go after bin Laden, but when we leaked the details, remember the Pakistani doctor who helped us? He wound up being in a Pakistani jail. The British were working some sources that were compromised. So yes, when you release this report and you point out, Poland was involved, I can only imagine the problems that creates in Poland. I don't mind looking into our abuses. I don't mind airing our dirty laundry, but we're still in the war. This is not a report about how World War II ended. This is a report in the middle of a war. So this president, in my view, Barack Obama, has changed the war to a crime. Not one person has been put in Guantanamo Bay. As soon as we capture somebody like bin Laden's son-in-law, we hold them for a few days and read them their Miranda rights, and that's going to come back to bite us. That's going to hurt us as much, if not more, than the old techniques.
What about the timing of this report and the threats we're facing right now that you've pointed out? Have you been able to figure out why the report is coming out now?
Yeah, I think it was released because Democrats are going to be out of power, and it has nothing to do with any other issue as far as I'm concerned. I think the timing couldn't be worse. ISIL is on the rise. This will be used as a recruiting tool. The Mideast is on fire. Iran, we're in the middle of negotiations with the Iranians. It's going to make it harder to deal with our allies. So I think the timing of this report could not have been worse. And again, we have looked at this stuff in detail. We have fixed it by statute. I don't mind airing our dirty laundry, but this is not the time or the place to do it. And I do fear that we've compromised our national security and put our people at risk. At the end of the day, I'm for aggressive war on terror, against a vicious enemy who knows no bounds. I want to fight this war as an American within our values, going after the enemies of this nation, using drones, using aggressive interrogation techniques, but limiting civilian casualties and not going down the road that would breach our values.